Well, I mentioned earlier that we began last Sunday evening and we're continuing tonight and for the next number of weeks a series under an overall banner of the Faith for Our Times. We're looking at the God you're looking for. And in this series, the God you're looking for, we're looking at statements made by Jesus, the Son of God, in the Gospel of John, where he speaks of who he is. And we thought last Sunday evening, Jesus saying, I am the bread of life. Well, we're picking up the second saying this evening. It's found in the passage I'm going to read to us now from John chapter 8 and verse 12 onwards. We'll read verse 12 to 20, and that's on page 1073 in the church Bibles. So we're picking up from where we left off with Jesus at the festival and talking to the people and so on. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. The Pharisees challenged him. Here you are, appearing as your own witness. Your testimony is not valid. Jesus answered, even if I testify on my own behalf, my testimony is valid, for I know where I came from and where I am going. But you have no idea where I come from or where I am going. You judge by human standards. I pass judgment on no one. But if I do judge, my decisions are true because I am not alone. I stand with the Father who sent me. In your own law it is written that the testimony of two witnesses is true. I am one who testifies for myself. My other witness is the Father who sent me. Then they asked him, where is your Father? You do not know me or my Father, Jesus replied. If you knew me, you would know my Father also. He spoke these words while teaching in the temple courts, near the place where the offerings were put. Yet no one seized him because his hour had not yet come. Maybe you've heard the saying, money is as money does. I did economics for an A-level at school a long time ago, and our economics teacher said to us at the end of one lesson, I want you lot, because that's how they would refer to us back then, I want you lot to find out a definition of money for the next class that we have. So we went away, and in the friendship group that I was part of, I had no idea how to go about answering his question. One of the lads used to get the Bank of England quarterly report. I'm sure he's gone on to do really well in life. I used to still get the Beano. But anyway, he said, guys, there was an article that said, here are the different definitions of money. M1, M2, sterling M3, M4, M5. It was back in the days of monetary policy and so on. So we were well set up for our next class. Between the 4 or 5 of us that there were, we each learned off by heart what they were, the M1, M2, and so we made quite a presentation in class to our teacher. But anyway, he began, and he asked one of our colleagues in class, and she said, I've got to say it was with a little bit of a smirk on her face. She said, money is as money does. And he wasn't very kind in what he said to her, but there we are. She was right, though. And we were also right, but she was also right. Money is as money does. It's hard to describe, isn't it? If someone said to you, what is money? Well, you might describe the coins in your pocket or the notes in your wallet or what you've got in your online account. But money tends to be defined by what it does, in a sense. In many ways, perhaps we could also say about light, light is as light does. You know, if someone had said to you on the way down to church this evening, not that this is likely to happen, but as you're walking along, someone says to you, what is light? You might think, I'm not quite sure the answer to that, but I think I need to get some help for you. What is light? Light is as light does. We've got the lights on and we know it. No one has to explain to us. It's gone dark outside, we've got the lights on in here. But we can also say a bit more than that, probably need to say a bit more than that. So how about this for a compact definition of what light is? Light is energy on the move. I really like that. It's not original to me. Light is energy on the move. If science is your thing, we can say that light is both a wave and a particle. We have a son who's a physics teacher. He tried to explain this to me once. I wouldn't judge his capability as a teacher by whether I was able to understand or not. That's more down to me than it was to him. But it's both a wave and a particle. Light is a form of electromagnetic radiation, waves of electric and magnetic energy that travel through space. Light is energy on the move. It's a real physical phenomenon, and it does things. Light is as light does. It does things, it reveals, it guides, it warms, it gives life. And you might think, no, that's saying a bit too much for light. But actually, all those things are the truth. Light reveals. I'm thinking in the physical sense, in the physical realm. It makes things visible. Without it, reality around us would be inaccessible. We wouldn't be able to see and understand the world as it is. We wouldn't be able to engage in the world as it is. We wouldn't really know one another as we know one another now. Think about how much is conveyed by someone's facial expression toward you. You're all sat there, lovely smiles on your faces, keen interest being shown. And I can see that, and I'm understanding that, and I'm responding to that. If we are in the gloom, well, did they mean what they said? They sounded sincere, but I wonder if they were just smirking at me. Wonder if it wasn't really true. Light reveals, makes things visible, allows us to access reality. Light also guides. Because it travels in straight lines, it gives us the ability to move in a direction, and it gives us orientation. Because light hitting that door, coming into my eyes, I think that's kind of reasonably scientific. Because it's coming in a straight, I know where that door is, and I'm able to head to it, and I won't hit the wall. Unless something odd happens, I'll be able to go through that door at the end. Light does bend in certain situations through lenses and other things, but generally speaking, it's in a straight line, and that allows us to move helpfully. It gives us guidance. It also warms. Light carries energy, electric and magnetic energy, as we were saying earlier, energy on the move. And when it arrives somewhere, it gets absorbed by what it hits. Light warms. You'll know that if you've ever tried to change a light bulb and it's been on. You always say, oh, hang on, that's going to be hot. It's been on. Well, that's probably because something was heated up inside it. Maybe it's not to do with the light. But anyway, light warms. It also allows for communication. In these high-speed internet days, fiber optic cables, what's the optic about? Well, it's about light. Light helps with communication. And especially importantly, light gives life and sustains it. Photosynthesis. Heat, necessary for life and growth. Light regulates our biology. Terrible things happen to human beings who don't receive light. Really messes up your circadian rhythm that we really need to live properly and well. We need light for producing vitamin D. It will impact our mental and emotional health, the lack of it. It makes perception possible. When you take light away, I've said it in terms of understanding reality, but then it completely throws you if you don't have that light. It changes life in fundamental ways. Well, we could go on, but I guess the picture is clear enough. But when we think of light, it's hard not to also think at the same time, and I've kind of already indicated this, of the absence of light. When we don't have it, or the opposite of light, darkness. All that light does, all that light is absent from, and in a sense you could say is opposed by darkness. So darkness distorts and masks reality. It diminishes, can even destroy life, and it can bring a complete lifeless freeze. So with those things in mind, it wouldn't be a big jump from there to say, why do we use light and darkness in metaphorical ways? Well, it's obvious, because they're such a huge part of life and we understand them. And we might say about someone, well, no, I was kept in the dark. When I worked for British Coal, we used to say that the upper management of the coal industry used to treat us as though we were mushrooms, that we would grow best if we were kept in the dark, that we didn't know what was going on, which pit is going to close, which department is going to be made redundant. We, of course, were speaking metaphorically. They were keeping us in the dark. They didn't turn the lights off. I was sat by a window, plenty of light. It's a metaphor. We do the same with light in a multiplicity of ways. Light and darkness, they're real things, physically, scientifically, but we also use them as metaphors to convey a meaning beyond that which we're physically describing. But if your instinct, as I say that, is also telling you that light and darkness, you just feel inside you, also speak of things, and it kind of is metaphorical, but it's even bigger than that. They speak of things that we can't see, but which are nevertheless real, unseen realms. So we're talking powers of light, powers of darkness, that kind of thing. If your instinct is leading you in that direction, the Bible would say you're onto something. You're not wrong to have your thinking going on like that. Yes, there's light, the electromagnetic radiation that is brought to us, energy on the move. And yes, it's easy, and so we do it. Use those terms, light and darkness, metaphorically. But if your mind and heart are saying, but I just think that there's more to light and more to darkness, beyond using it as metaphors, then God in the Bible says, you're right. You are definitely right. And you see that in the opening of the Bible itself. In Genesis chapter 1, I'm just going to read you a verse or two from there. These are very famous words. In the beginning, we're actually in John's Gospel, and he begins his Gospel with those same three words, but then goes off in a slightly different direction. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. God saw that the light was good. He separated the light from the darkness. There's some hints being made there. The light God calls good. Doesn't call the darkness good. Before the light, before God spoke, let there be light, everything was darkness. And do you remember those words? I've just read them to us, that the earth was formless and empty. Darkness is over the surface of the deep. What kind of picture is that conjuring? It's saying to us there wasn't shape, there wasn't form, there wasn't, in a sense, meaning. Things were chaotic. There's just these waters and the Hebrew words being used. Tohu avohu, they say to us about that sense of chaos. Until God says, let there be light. You see, light allows for life, for shaping, for forming, for filling. But if you carry on reading that chapter, you'll notice there that we're given a hint that this is more than the light that we understand and experience with our bodies and our minds day by day. Because in that chapter, further on day 4, we're told that God creates the sun, the moon, and the stars. And where do we get our light from? What is this electromagnetic radiation energy that's coming to me now? Well, it's not now because the sun's gone down, but you know what we're saying. Well, it comes from the sun. Yeah, but light was created on day 1. There is something more being said to us than simply God created electromagnetic radiation on that first day. The darkness was deep and foreboding. God does not pronounce it good. There is something to be wary of there. And then God creates the good, the light, the good light into the world. It's saying something really significant. We're dealing with profound truths. And the Bible then is not shy as it goes on to assign light to God himself and darkness to those unseen forces of evil and chaos, sin and death. And that gives us the key to where we're going just for a few more minutes this evening. Jesus' tremendous statement here in John chapter 8 and verse 12, the second of the I am statements, where Jesus says, I am the light of the world. Everything that light is and can be in its most fundamental and most profound senses, Jesus is. Everything that we've been taking the hints from and seeking to get under as we thought about life, what it does. Light is as light does. And seeing there that we can use it metaphorically, but we can also use it in an even greater sense. That's who and what Jesus is. That's what he's telling us. We can't by nature see what we need to see the truth about God, to see the truth about ourselves. Light needs to shine upon that for us. Jesus is the one who reveals and illuminates. I don't know if you ever did this as a child or maybe older, maybe you've done it with children. You get a torch and stick it under your chin and the rest of the room is dark, and then people get really scared because you look really weird. Well, I looked really weird, maybe you didn't, but hey ho. In a sense, Jesus, it's not that there's a light shining on him, but a light shining from him that reveals to us who God is and what God is like. And by contrast, he shows us who we are and what we're like. Jesus as the light is the one who guides. There is nothing devious about him. He doesn't bend round corners in that sense. He gives straightforward direction. There's a clarity there. And he does it in order to guide and to protect. He gives the warmth that becomes life itself. He enables communication between God and earth, between God and humanity. He is that communication. He is the word of God to us. So he's the one who allows us to grasp at meaning, significance, purpose, lights the way before us. And he delivers from the darkness. I am the light of the world. It's a tremendous statement, and it's a remarkable claim. And it's remarkable for this reason. Jesus is not to be understood as saying here, it's okay, lads, I've got a really, really, really strong torch, we'll be okay. I saw someone this evening with a headlight on around their head. Great thing to have, to be going around. I don't know how many lumens comes from that, but enough just to be able to see your way before you. Jesus is not saying, yeah, but I've got this. I've been able to access a light that is just better than anything else that there has ever been. And I've got it, so I can help you. He isn't saying that. He's not found the light. He possesses it as something not external to himself, but he's saying here, I am the light. There's a difference, isn't there? If he had said, I've got a light, I found a light, the light is with me. But he's saying something far, far more. I am the light. I am the light of the world. How can you get away with saying something like that, though? Because that's a massive claim to make, isn't it? The key is something that we saw last week, and we'll see all the way through this series, I guess. I am the light of the world. I am. That small little introductory phrase is Jesus' way of saying that what he's telling us as God himself. I am. When Moses was in the desert, in the Old Testament book of Exodus in chapter 3, he sees a bush that's burning, but it's not consumed. It's a bit like our sun. The sun, a ball of fire. It's just one massive storm that keeps raging and raging. It's not going to be consumed. It's perpetuating, self-perpetuating in a sense. Something similar is going on at this burning bush. But then God speaks to Moses from the bush, don't come any nearer. You need to take your sandals off. The ground you're standing on is holy ground. Well, it's holy because God is meeting with Moses there. And he commissions him. He wants him to go back into Egypt and rescue his people from there. Moses is kind of like a criminal in hiding because of murder back in Egypt. But when he's told, I want you to go back to your people and you're going to be leading them out, Moses. Who shall I say sent me? What name am I to give them? I am that I am, says God. His name is Yahweh, the great I am, the one who has always existed, the one whose existence comes from within himself. He wasn't made. He's always been. And what sustains him is not something that anyone or anything else can give him. Self-sustaining, self-existing. None of us can say that tonight, can we? I am eternally. I am self-existing, self-sustaining. We can't say that at all because we're not God. Jesus makes it plain that he can and does because he is. So when he says, I am the light of the world, he's claiming not to have that torch. He's claiming to be light in himself because he is God. In the New Testament, further on in the New Testament, I should say, one of Jesus' disciples, John, who actually wrote this gospel, he summarizes a great Bible truth in these words. He said, God is light. That's what we're saying about Jesus, what Jesus is saying about himself. Maybe you've heard the saying, God is love. Maybe you think, where do people get that idea from? Well, in that same letter, further on, John says, God is love. Before he says that, he writes down that God is light. God is light. And Jesus says, that's him. I am the light of the world. We're all familiar with literal light and darkness, aren't we? We're also familiar with metaphorical light and darkness. But I want to suggest that we're all also far too familiar with spiritual light and darkness. And in particular, we are so aware, or ought to be, not just of darkness around us, because who could look at this world and deny that there is darkness that is deeper than just the things that we can see? Not just out there. There is so much darkness out there, but there is also so much darkness in here as well. Things are chaotic. Things are a mess. We can't see where we're going. Can't make sense of life. And in fact, what we so often do is we cause things to break down. Darkness is very real in that deepest sense, both in the world and inside us, which means we need light. And we need light to shine upon us. And we need light to shine within us. We need the darkness inside us and outside us to be banished, to be dismissed, to be overcome. And this great statement of Jesus is alerting us to the fact that he in himself is everything we need for that. He's showing us who God really is, showing us what we're really like ourselves, the light that gives direction, how to come to be in relationship with God, how to live in God's good world. As the light, he is able to take our lives that are so misshapen and malformed, and he's able to give shape and meaning and purpose, and he can bring peace and health and wholeness within. And his light is able to lead us into all the ways of his life. His claim is that he is the God who is in himself light and who can banish the darkness both within us and around us. But here's an astonishing truth about Jesus as the light of the world. For him to bring us into the light, for him to shine in such a way that the darkness is banished from within us and ultimately from the whole of creation, That can only happen because the time came when Jesus allowed himself to be submerged, subsumed by the darkness. All four Gospels, four biographies, if you like, of Jesus, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they all head to one fixed point, like laser beams, all focusing on one point and intensifying as they meet there, where Jesus is taken and is slaughtered by being hung on a cross. And when Jesus is being betrayed by Judas in John's Gospel, he speaks of it in these terms: now is the hour of darkness. This is where darkness is showing itself, revealing itself, unveiling what it's really like, exerting itself to the height of its power, taking God himself and having him nailed to a cross, being plunged into darkness. You see, his sufferings on the cross, they were the most intense darkness there's ever been. Luke tells us in his gospel that there was this unnatural darkness. When the sun was at its highest, for 3 hours, darkness covered the land. He says, because the sun stopped shining. That's a pointer, not to a physical reality that happened, but to the depths of what was going on there. Jesus entering the darkness of sin and evil and their consequences, the darkness of judgment on sin and evil, the darkness of death, separation from God who is light, Jesus being plunged down. And it happens because he permits it to happen. It wasn't an accident, and it wasn't that he got outwitted. He allows it to happen because you and I are children of darkness, and we need to be rescued from it. And we've caused so much harm by our darkness, in our words and deeds, in our motivations, in our distorted loves. And all sin, all evil and their foul consequences, Jesus takes upon himself for our sake. In John's Gospel earlier on, we read of people choosing to remain in darkness, not wanting to come into the light, even though they know the light is there, but they don't want to come into it because it will show them up for what they are. Maybe the same has been true of you. You've been going out and you thought, oh no, I've got a stain on my shirt. Oh, it's okay. Where we're going, the restaurant that we're going to, they never have the lights up. No one's going to see the smudge on my shirt. It'll be all right. But if I was going somewhere where the lights were blazing, if I was in a spotlight, I'd have to change it before going out. Trouble is, we can't change ourselves. And in John's Gospel, we read about people trying to hide away from the light. They don't want it to be seen and known what kind of people they are. They'd rather live in the hopeless despair of the darkness than to be revealed that here is their sin, here is their shame, here is their guilt. Well, that's the way of hopelessness. There is no way out and no way back from there. But Jesus, as the light of the world, is the one, the only one who can banish darkness. That's what light does if it's strong enough. My little sort of fitness band thing on my wrist, apparently I discovered this week, it's got a flashlight kind of thing on it. Brilliant. If I come to the key to the lock at night trying to get in the house and it's really dark, well, I can turn that on, but that's about all it's going to do. It's not even bright enough to read by. If a light is strong enough, it will banish the darkness. There is no light like the light of Jesus, the light that is God himself. He's able to banish all our darkness. That means forgiveness. That means transformation. That means a hope that will never put us to shame. He is strong enough in his light to overcome and banish all darkness. And he says in this wonderful statement that he's prepared and able to do that for people in all places. and for all sorts of people. I am the light of the world. There's a great line in the Old Testament. We were looking at it recently when Rich was preaching in Isaiah 42, that God's anointed king, the Messiah who would come, he would be a light for the nations, for the Gentiles, for the non-Jews. God's light expanding. It's not just about one nation. Jesus here makes it even clearer still. I am the light of the world. The world in its opposition to God, the world in its despair, the world in its darkness. I am the light of the world. So whoever you are, wherever you're from, whatever you've done, however messy your life is, however sunk in despair you are, he is the light for you. I'm the light of the world. In all our gloom, in all our hopeless darkness, he can illuminate the deepest darkness and set people free. But how does that become real for you? If he's the light, if he's shining, does that mean that, well, whether you knew it or whether you didn't, automatically you're in that light? Because no one's turned him off. And if he's the light for the world, well, everything must be okay then, presumably. Well, let's just listen to his words here. I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but have the light of life. He was in Jerusalem for a festival, the Feast of Tabernacles. What was that all about? Well, it's remembering, sometimes called the Feast of Booths, remembering how the people of Israel, when they were rescued from Egypt under the leadership of Moses, they were in booths, tabernacles, tents in the wilderness. And how did God guide his people in the wilderness? Well, by night, there was a pillar of fire illuminating the way before them. And they had to follow where God led. Jesus says, whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. So no, it's not automatic, and it's not just distributed whether you know it or whether you don't. You know, whoever follows me, whoever becomes aware of the darkness within and the darkness around and recognizes no one else can shine mercy, no one else can shine love, no one else can shine release but you, Jesus. So I want to follow you. I want to trust you. I want to walk with you. You're calling me to. And his great promise is that you won't walk in darkness. I need to just say, we ought to finish, but let me just say, he's not saying there, you'll never have any dark days. You'll never have any difficulties in this life. What he is saying is, you will never again belong to the darkness. That will not be any longer your habitual home. Yes, shadows get thrown across our lives, even those who are following Jesus, and it can be very disquieting when that happens. But no longer belonging to the darkness, but having been moved across into God's light, having his light shine deeply within you, having the light of life, Jesus says. It means everything. He makes the claim, and we need to take him at his word.